Hey guys, it's Scotty here. As some of you already know, we make rigs for gimbals and accessories. This week we've got our hands on the new Zhiyun crane remote control, and we're developing a number of new products to make better use of this remote. I've already received a lot of questions regarding the new remote, so after spending an intensive week with it, I thought I'd share my findings in a review. It's not a detailed review of every single feature, but a distillation of the most important parts from me to you. Now, if you've just got a passing interest in this remote, then I'd suggest you skip to the summary at the end to see the main points. But if you're seriously considering buying it, then you should definitely watch it because there are some things in this that you need to know. A lot of us already have the Crane 2, and there's a lot of interest in whether this is finally the Zhiyun remote that we've all been longing for. I'll let you know what's good, what's bad, and if I would recommend it. So sit back and relax as I give you my review of the new Zhiyun motion sensor remote control with follow focus, or the ZW-B03 for short. As usual, the micro instructions that Zhiyun give us aren't much more than a glorified list of features with little detail. So after many hours of trial and error, I've been able to fill in the instruction blanks with both positive and negative discoveries. For people who've struggled with Zhiyun's previous remote with its automatic 2-minute disconnection feature, I'm sure that the Bluetooth connection is at the top of the list of concerns, as it is to me too. So I spent a number of hours testing out this connection. Pairing the Crane 2 is straightforward. If your remote isn't paired, you'll see this Make Connection icon. Then you click on the menu, and then right-click to select Scan, and then choose the Crane 2 by clicking right again. Click the menu to go back to the home view. So now I'm connected. I'll grab the joystick and take you for a spin. As you can see, there's a bit of latency, but it's pretty good in my book. The lock mode works well, and the larger joystick gives you far better control than that tiny little joystick on the grip. In a perfect world, I'd really like to see an even slower motion with the joystick, without having to go into the app to adjust this. After spending a few hours using the remote, I found out a few more answers to the questions that you guys have been asking. The first one is that I tested the Bluetooth for a few hours where I had it connected while not using it, and the connection stayed on. Yay! The 2-minute disconnection feature from the previous model has been dumped. Fantastic. Then I tried powering it off and on to see if the remote reconnected automatically, and to my surprise, it did. The only time it loses connection is when the remote is powered on before the gimbal is turned on. So at this point, the connection worked a heck of a lot better than the old remote, so I was very happy. As a long shot, I tried to connect the Crane 1, just to see if it would work. And I was able to connect it, but the remote doesn't control anything at all, so you can forget about it. It's a shame. The next finding was that the Bluetooth has a maximum line of sight range of between 8 and 12 meters. Past that distance, the Crane 2 started to get jerky as the connection dropped in and out. It did work through an internal door, but wouldn't pass through a plaster wall a few meters from the Crane 2. The connection within the range is good and solid, but the ability to extend that range occasionally would be awesome. Most Bluetooth transmitter chips nowadays have the ability to increase or decrease their signal strength through programming, So I'm hoping that Zhiyun can give us this ability in new firmware for those occasions when a greater distance than 10 meters is needed. Zhiyun's G-Mode motion sensor remote control was the #1 thing that I was really looking forward to getting a chance to use, especially after seeing what Movi did with their Mimic remote system. The creative opportunities that this type of system could give us are huge, but we all know that great features in concept can be let down by poor implementation. It took a lot longer than expected to get used to the controls through trial and error with the limited and in some places incorrect instructions, and in the end I worked out that this system didn't work the way I was expecting it to. It really did my head in trying to figure out what was going on and how I could use it. What I worked out was that G-Mode doesn't function the same as Movi's Mimic does. Movi's Mimic and Zhiyun G-Mode both take the initial orientation of the remote when activated as the point of reference, and all motion is relative to that starting orientation. So what's different? Okay, if you turn the Movi Mimic 90 degrees to the left, then the gimbal turns 90 degrees to the left. With the Zhiyun remote, if you turn 90 degrees to the left, the crane 2 rotates around and around continually until you either let go of the G-Mode button or move back 90 degrees to the right to where you started. The Movi speed of motion is based on how fast you move the Mimic remote. Sounds intuitive, right? And there's lots of people that agree the Mimic is super easy to use. Even small kids get it. Now if I start again with the Zhiyun remote and only move a small amount to the left, the gimbal still rotates around continuously, but this time it moves much slower. So rotating the remote doesn't make it move to a specific angle, but instead your movement is acting more like a toggle on the joystick. Bigger moves move it faster, and smaller moves move it slower. Also, there was another pain I found using G-Mode. It only works when you have your thumb on the button, which can be very tough to do easily with the dual handles. This made an already irritating mode even more so. It would seem to be easy for Zhiyun to add, say, a double press of the button for G-Mode to stay on. I really do love that they've had the vision to add this feature, and yes, it does work. But for me, it hurts a bit to say this, but it's a fail for now. I reckon that the real power in Movi's Mimic is that it's intuitive and natural to use. There just doesn't seem to be the point in using Zhiyun's G-Mode when you're able to do the same move more intuitively and probably better with the remote's larger and easier to use joystick. I'd like to hope that this is another thing that can be changed in future firmware, but until that happens, I won't be using the G-Mode button anymore. Now we get to Sport Mode. This is the real kicker, I'm afraid to tell you. The Sport Mode is a feature that is meant to firm up the control of the gimbal so you can do rapid whip pans instantly without having to access the app to make changes to the settings to do it. When I tried to use the Sport Mode, it did nothing. So I thought, maybe the instruction manual was wrong, so I tried every possible type of single and multiple press to try and get it to work, but I had no luck. After some more trial and error, I decided to contact Zhiyun support. Eventually, they asked me to produce a video showing my problem. I told them, I'm in the middle of producing a video for a review. As soon as I said video and review, the slow response turned into a rapid typing with no. They asked that I not post the review but send a video to them instead. I relented and did a 20-second video to which they answered that the sports mode didn't work at present and it was a known problem. I was fairly pissed off at this stage and asked why they didn't just say that in the first place, and why the heck do they sell a product that has a button that doesn't work? They apologised and said that this would be fixed in future firmware, but they couldn't give me a time frame when this firmware would be ready. I mainly use a Sony a7R II, and I can confirm that the video can be operated easily with the press of the remote power button for record and stop. The center button of the remote click wheel half presses for focus and full presses for photo, just like the Crane 2. And now for my summary. My initial impressions during the unboxing were that this was a very solid and well constructed remote control, and I'm happy to say that my original opinion hasn't changed. It has a rock solid angled piece of aluminium at the back to attach the mount to it with its 1/4-20 bolt. The body is high strength plastic and well made with another 1/4-20 fitting in the base. A stark contrast to the older remote's flimsy design and silly 2-minute disconnection feature. The majority of people thinking about getting this remote will obviously be people using the Zhiyun dual handles. A number of you have already questioned how easy it will be to operate the remote given you're already holding both handles. There are definitely some serious usability issues that dual handle users will have to weigh up before they make a purchase. Very large hands may be better suited to managing it. For the rest of us, it'll be tricky to easily access the remote while holding the handles. I expect you'll likely need to somehow squeeze your fingers around the handle and reach across with your thumb. That might make delicate joystick or follow focus moves hard to get right. Usability issues aside, the sport mode fail is worrying, given that it should have been resolved well before sales even started. On a whole, they make good products, but we're continually let down by apps and firmware. This and some of my other niggles shouldn't be difficult to fix in new firmware, especially for a company of this size. Let's hope that Zhiyun gets this message loud and clear. So let's put it all into perspective. Here's the positives. 1. Finally we have a remote with a reliable Bluetooth connection. 2. It does the basics very well. 3. A much bigger and better joystick gives you good control. 4. It's very well constructed with multiple attachment options. 5. Follow focus control with servo is excellent to use. 6. No other gimbal remote comes close to the same features for the money. And here's the negatives. It's missing sport mode. 2. G mode is unintuitive. 3. Usability issues with dual handles make it hard to operate. 4. Short Bluetooth range limits some uses. Now for my recommendation. So frustrations aside, this is a very nice accessory for the Crane 2. And this is my advice for the following users. If you use dual handles and you just need to start and stop recording, then don't buy it. Most camera companies and aftermarket sellers make small and nifty remotes that talk directly to your camera and are cheap too. For dual handle users who want to pan, tilt, roll, record or use follow focus, then you probably should get this. But you'll need to work out for yourself if you can still make good use of it while both hands are on the handles. For dual handle operators who want to run this rig with dual operators, then there is no question about it. You need this, but bear in mind the short 10-meter Bluetooth range. For video teams of 2 or more doing weddings or events, this will pay for itself in the unobtrusive ways that you can capture those special shots controlling it remotely with a field monitor. And lastly, as you know, it's my job to design rigs for gimbals and accessories like this, so it's a design problem that I'm already well and truly on top of. From our perspective, this is a good remote, and we're already planning to build 3 new rigs and accessories to make better use of it. Due to the new remote's structural strength and the 2 1/4-20 attachment points, it has some excellent possibilities to integrate into my rigs. The main focus will be integrating the remote into a handle that can be used in the Zhiyun dual grips, as well as my own 4th axis Pro 2 stabilizer. And there'll also be a dual operator style rig with a single handle for the remote with multiple top and bottom attachment points for field monitors and other gear. And all these gimbal accessories can be found at scottymakestuff.com. Okay, well, that's it guys. I hope this was useful to you. If you liked it, please let me know. And thanks for coming this far with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.